Welcome to the Symbio Cannabis Podcast. We're back again. What's up, Aaron? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. Stoked to be here. Episode number 3. Last one came out a little late. We're going to be posting these ones next to each other, I think.
Yeah, we'll be getting more aggressive with the posting. And so look out for those people. We'll be, more consistent. And so today we wanted to briefly just go over a couple things. And one of them is a big concern in our industry is FDA compliance. And, you see a lot of brands, like I would say like 90% of brands out there are not compliant in the CBD space. And so it's a real big concern.
Well, and the issue is it's twofold, right? Like, and we were talking about this a little bit beforehand. But there's the FDA compliance and FTC compliance, Federal Trade Commission, for both the packaging for the packaging, the box, the bottle, the jar, whatever you're selling. There's the compliance there, and then there's the compliance on what claims you can make when you're advertising, marketing, or promoting your products or trying to sell them.
Yeah, and even like we saw Charlotte's Web got a letter a year or so ago because their testimonials had claims in them. So the customers were making claims. That can't even happen. So there's so many rules that have to be followed. And, we've learned a lot from Marty Marion, who's in our group and CBD Business Success group in Facebook. And Marty has taught me, that you just really have to focus on the health of the audience that you're speaking to and not on diseases. And so, like, for instance, you could say, this promotes healthy sleep patterns. That's okay. But you can't say this helps insomnia. That'll get you in trouble.
And it's really like, the way I think about it, well, the way I think about it is you can't cure or treat anything. That's pretty much the principle that I use when I'm
you want to use the word like support and things
exactly.
like that.
And you want to avoid words that are inherently diseases, right? Like having trouble sleeping is not insomnia. Insomnia is, though, a disease. So they're different, right? So this might help you sleep. That's okay. But you can't say things like that this will cure your insomnia, or this will it's using the right words, right? Joint relief. That's actually compliant. Marty might jump in here and tell me I'm pushing it on that one, but joint relief technically is compliant because it's a joint is not a disease. It's just a joint that you have. Relieving it is not a treatment or cure. And so you can say that. You couldn't say, though, treats arthritis, or arthritis relief even would be too much, because arthritis is a disease.
Yeah, exactly. And then people have to be careful, even in the emails that they send out and their copy on their website, all of that. It's just better to be less is always more. Like, you don't have to, like, one of my buddies is like, this is not a chemistry class. Like, it can be just a basic, like, less is more on a website. You don't need a lot of copy. So it gives you less chance of making claims.
And I think you can just be creative with it too. So like I was telling you, Matt, I have that experience at Monk. So at Monk, we sold a personal aromatherapy diffuser that was not FDA compliant. And so you start to learn a lot of like the language that you can say. But I also think that it's really not that hard to follow the compliance rules. Use words like relief, support, health, promote, therapeutic, experience. All of these words are compliant words. You can assist with sleep. You can promote mood elevation. You can promote positive effects.
Homeostasis.
Exactly, right. Balances it provides balance, right? All these things are not claims, and that they're fine to say. And so just be creative with it. And then
look up structure function claims, people out there. If you're get a really knowledgeable in that, just Google structure function claims.
And I think another key part of, like you said, is really the testimonials. And that really happened like last year, I think, when they first got the first lawsuit. But basically, a lot of the people were using testimonials and saying, "Hey, well, we're not saying it; it's anecdotal evidence from someone else." But the issue is, it is until you use it in a promotion. As soon as you use a testimonial or promotion, it's officially an ad.
That's you
So you
saying
just
that then, yeah.
exactly. So it's okay for them to make claims in their testimonials. What's not okay is for you to run ads or marketing campaigns with those testimonials if they do make claims.
Or
But
even put it on your website. You can't even do that, but they could do a YouTube. Like that person could do a YouTube, and you can't control that. They could be saying whatever.
But if it's an ad, if it's an influencer marketing ad, and you paid them to say that, you're pushing it. These things are going to get tighter and tighter. It's still really kind of a wild west on a lot of these fronts. You know, clearly the FDA is getting more serious about claims, but it's going to get more and more serious, not just about claims, but about influencer marketing, about advertising, about email marketing. You know, really, frankly, they're just catching up. Is where it's really at.
Yeah, and then that's another thing to look at is DSHEA guidelines for dietary supplements. If you can just get aware of that, then people will be fine if they just know what to go by as far as DSHEA is the acronym.
Totally.
And if you look that up, you'll see that this is a government organization, and they'll give you all the guidelines for dietary supplements, which is what we pretty much think is going to be the future for CBD, is what we're hoping they get looked at as dietary supplements. And that's what the FDA not that long ago said, that they were going to leave companies alone that weren't making claims, that were following the guidelines. So at least for now, that helps.
I think that's the key. And I think that goes right into it. You know, we talked about there's kind of two ways that you need to be FDA and FTC compliant. The first is, not the first. One is that when you're promoting it, you can't be making claims. You gotta be straight. You gotta be communicating it in a way that's compliant with the FDA. The second, like you said, is the packaging requirements. And so that's where I think it's DSHEA or DSHEA, or however you say it.
Yeah.
They lay out some pretty clear guidelines. Also, Marty Marion, like you said, he's available in the group. He's a great guy to talk to. And he'll give you some insight on what you can and can't put on your packaging. But I'll tell you what, man, like packaging and suppliers is like my least, well, suppliers are fine. Product suppliers, I don't have much of a problem with, but packaging, I just fucking, excuse my language, but I hate it. It's just such a pain, you know, long turnaround time, samples take a long time, you know, they can screen print it, then they can't screen print it. And then, you know, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but or I'm sure you've experienced this, but I'm sure some of our listeners have too. But you know, Chinese New Year, just
man, it shuts everything down.
It's like it's an 11-month year there, not a 12-month year.
Yeah, and then just also the language barrier can be tough, and unless you have somebody that speaks Mandarin on your team, you know, or Cantonese. And so that's a challenge as well, getting stuff like that done, and it has to be compliant as well. And so there's all kinds
What would be your like number one tip going into packaging, or maybe top 3 tips going into sourcing packaging? Because I'm sure a lot of people are struggling with that.
Oh man, definitely have backups, because like they're just like they might seem like they have it together, and then it's just something always happens. So you should have 2 or 3, probably 3 different options for the same packaging. And join our group, CBD Business Success, in Facebook. There's a ton of companies in there, and that will give you know, feedback on what you're looking for, if you're looking for specific types of packaging. And that's when it really gets difficult, when you want custom packaging.
Yeah, real custom. That's where it gets really challenging.
Yeah, and so you have to have time. Like one company is one of the bigger companies in the industry that I talked to. It took them 8 months just to get their packaging down. So
yeah, it's the more custom you go with it. You know, I would say, kind of tying onto that, my 3 tips would be kind of like, you know, if you have the budget, go custom. If you don't have the budget, white label, my friends. Like, it will save you so much time, so much hassle, so much pain. And if you don't have the budget to do a full custom packaging anyway, it's the lowest hanging fruit. And then second, I agree with what you said, which is if you're going to go custom packaging, get at least 3 packaging suppliers lined up who can supply it. And ideally, all of them can supply the full range of the packaging options that you would need.
Yeah, exactly. And so
in-house screen printing, man, in-house screen printing or labeling. You don't want to be going from one supplier to another one just to get a label put on the bottle or a screen printed onto the bottle. So in-house. And I'm going to add a 4th, which is, if you can avoid China, avoid China. And it's not just China. It's really just international shipping. It adds a lot of cost, language barriers, like Matt said. It adds a lot of complexities to it. The way I recommend doing it is either work with a partner that has those relationships already worked out. They're doing that every day of the week, and they have a system down. So you're talking to an English person who's speaking English or whatever language you're speaking and culture you're coming from, so you can process quicker. And then second is, if you're gonna go to China, if you're gonna go the Alibaba route, look up for a Chinese agent. They're usually really affordable. They usually have pretty fluent speaking English speakers, and they can do a couple of things. They can go and check out the facility. They can go check out the bottles. They can communicate on your behalf and process it faster. But honestly, I would stick with U.S. based companies, people who do this often, process with them if possible, and just be prepared for.
I think I lost you there. Let's see.
Maybe you did not, but I think next we would talk about maybe just a little bit about. There you go, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Sorry. Great. Cool. That's good. I think on retail strategy, I'm going to close this episode up with that. Maybe it's a short one today, but Matt, can you tell me about, we talk about e-commerce, direct-to-consumer e-commerce and retail strategy being the main distribution channels for a lot of these CBD companies or cannabis companies in the space. But we also talk about like a two-pronged approach to retail, both your own stores and other stores. Can you give me some both of those?
Yeah. Well, if you have a e-com brand and you're looking to sell to brick and mortar stores, like, maybe CBD stores, chiropractors, smoke shops, vape shops, whatever, health food stores, you have to have a sales system in place. If you think you're just going to like randomly start approaching all these people, it just doesn't work. You need to have a set step-by-step system in place with SOPs and a way to scale that up. And I've helped major companies do that. And so that's one of my biggest passions, is working and helping companies build their sales teams. And the best way to do it is to have a source of lead generation, and then you have an appointment setter, you have a closer, and you have an account manager. And that's all they do, is focus on those specific tasks. So your appointment setter is all day long just setting appointments for the closer, and the closer is just closing all day, and they're talking to warm leads instead of having your closer cold call and stuff like that. It doesn't work.
So too much time. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so
sorry, man, cut off. Go ahead.
Just having the metrics in place, like, if your appointment setter is approaching 100 leads, they should get a 9 to 10% response rate on those leads. And then the closer should close 20 to 30% of their appointments. And if you're not hitting those numbers, then you have to tweak something. And so having a system in place, and we teach that. We're going to be teaching that in our CBD Business Accelerator that we'll be launching in March. So check out for that. We'll go deeper into how to build that out and some of the little tricks that I use to get people to respond to emails. There's certain subject lines and different ways to send emails, so people actually will respond, because they get bombarded all day long. So
totally. That's really good. I really like those. I like how you're so systemized with it, and I like how you apply those KPIs, those key performance indicators to it. So you're looking for those conversion rates along the steps. But that's excellent. And I think people often don't take the time to just take a piece of paper and a pen and draw out a system for your sales team. Make it clear. You're going to have someone who's collecting the leads or sourcing the leads. You have someone who's setting appointments, someone who's closing, and then someone who's distributing the product, I guess, would be the third or the fourth one to that.
Yeah. So. And just the account manager is the person who takes care of all the paperwork. Like, usually closers like me, I don't like doing paperwork. I just like talking to people and closing deals.
It's not optimizing for the skill set. That's focused on, let's get the closer focused on turning in as many accounts as possible. But I think that's the key, is isolating those individual variables, putting a metric to them. You should be sitting, Matt said 7 to 9% for appointments that are cold called versus landing appointments, and then 20% closing for the closer. Those are great numbers. And once you can kind of make that system out of it, you define those SOPs, it really becomes a science. So I recommend that. I recommend that as well.
Yeah.
My final question for you, Matt, real quick is, what are the main factors I should be considering when trying to decide whether I should set up my own retail store or invest in a sales team to land mini retail stores?
That's a good question. I think you definitely need to have proper funding. That's number one. And I always say that. And with a retail store, you have to do your research before you open, because there's some that are doing really well and there's some that are not doing well at all because of
Totally.
where their location is. And that could be maybe there's no foot traffic, or maybe the location, like some of the stores in Wisconsin are suffering because there's too many CBD
Yeah, yeah.
stores. So you really have to know where you're placing it. Like one of my friends opened one in Indianapolis where there wasn't a lot, and their first day they did 15 grand in sales.
Wow. There
And
you go.
so you just need to you need to really do your research before you open a CBD retail shop. And I personally wouldn't open a CBD retail shop alone. Like my Dr. B and I are opening a store called Goddess Moon, and it's going to have CBD in there, but it's also going to have crystals and tarot
Yeah,
decks and other things mixed
I
up
like
with it. So it's a lifestyle store. Like if you just focus on CBD, it's going to be tough. I think it's all about creating a real brand with something, a niche around it, that you're speaking to a specific audience. Like Goddess Moon is for women only. And men can go and shop in there, of course, but the brand is for women. And so just creating a lifestyle brand more so than just a CBD store. And then when you get that launched, you need to market correctly. Like the biggest dispensaries in San Diego, on the THC side, they text
yeah.
every single day. You have to
Right.
text your
Thank you.
customers every
Yeah.
day. Like,
Florida, all the Florida dispensaries, the best ones, they're heavy with SMS marketing. Totally.
yeah, if you
Well, and I think
yeah,
that's a key, man. It's like when you're looking at these retail businesses, if you're going to create a new retail chain, you have to be clear on both the brand and the experience that you're going to
big
provide.
time.
There's hundreds of retailers out there that are creating CBD stores, and
Yeah,
some of them are doing very high end, and some of them are doing very low end. And in the process, though, the market's getting flooded. And I often think of it kind of like we often say use CBD as an ingredient when building your e-commerce company, rather than just simply the core product. And I would take the same approach with retail when it comes to individual retail stores. The brand should be your core product. CBD should be an ingredient into it.
exactly, 100%. And then the you want to put a lot of thought into the design of the store, like Aaron was saying, the customer experience when they walk in, and everything about every little detail has to be thought through. And like one of our dispensaries we helped open was 330 square feet, but we put so much money into the design because we said we want this to be the best 330 square feet in the world. And
Yeah,
we did 6 million in sales in the first year in that space. And so
that's awesome.
that was THC products as well, so like it's a little easier to get
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
numbers. um
Different for sure. I saw one recently, this high branded CBD company. I think they said, they might post in the group. I think they're on their 14th store, but I don't know. I've heard some people being extremely profitable, and I've heard some people, going bankrupt. And I think it really comes down to creating something bigger than simply CBD, incorporating CBD into some type of unique experience. Is it West Jones? No, it's not West Jones. There's someone, I think, in Asheville, North Carolina, that has a beautiful retail hemp shop. Um, do
oh
you
yeah,
know?
in our group.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name. I think it's called Lifted,
that's
maybe.
what it is.
Yeah, it's a
Absolutely.
really nice store. I wish I remembered your name, buddy. Shout out to Lifted in
I'll
North
mention it
Carolina.
maybe next time. He'll probably comment on this one.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great look to the shop. And another thing that I always say now is you want the products out on the floor so people can touch the products. Don't put them behind glass counters and all that. Like have the products out, and so people can actually get educated on them and look at them and just pick them up. And so
Absolutely.
those are the
And
best.
samples too, man. The sooner you can get someone to actually experience, the easier it is going to begin to convert them into a real customer.
Yeah,
So
so you want to work with brands that are willing to give you samples, and brands that are willing to put promotional models into
yeah,
your shop, giving out samples on a Friday or whatever when it's busy.
exactly.
You want to create an atmosphere like that. Even in the 330 square foot shop, we used to have promo models in there,
It's the
like
key.
packed in there. Like,
Whenever I would go to like what's some of those higher end dispensaries in San Francisco, like oh gosh, what's it called? Something City. Bayou,
oh,
it's not Bayou.
Spark is one that's really nice.
Spark's a great example. But they'll have Papa and Barley, right? The CBD and THC
Yeah, they're killing
out
it.
there, right? And but so for brands looking to get distribution in retail stores, Be the brand that sends someone to train the staff. Be the brand who brings samples for the staff to take home and for the customers to use. Sell the sell the bud tenders and the sales representatives, just like you're going to sell the customers. But on that note, I think we should wrap it. I got another appointment, and I know you do too, Matt. It was a little bit shorter one, but
we'll be back next week.
Yeah, Wednesday, I think, right?
Yep.
Cool.
So we'll see everybody next week and next time, and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you soon.